Hey, what's going on, folks? It's me, aka Justin here. Today I'm going to be talking about SEO for job boards, and we're just going to hop right in. So, SEO for job boards. Boom. Who's this for? Recruiters and recruiting agencies that want to expand instead of, only posting on the Indeeds and Monsters of the world. They want to have their own asset where, say you're cold calling companies looking for clients, and they say, hey, your services are too expensive. You can say, well, hey, have you looked at this job board, whether you're, a specific industry or regional, whatever the case is, you can guide them into that direction just as an alternative income source. Job board owners wanting to expand their traffic sources, assuming you don't already know about SEO or do SEO. If you are or you've only been running like paid ads or doing cold email and cold calling, this is a pretty low-ish effort way to get some organic traffic and get leads coming your way. Also, people looking to create a job board and are considering SEO as a traffic source, and they're really not too familiar with how it can help them. Or also people looking to hire an SEO for their job board, and they kind of want to be able to actually have a conversation with them. I know countless sitting in the meetings and also hearing stories about companies hiring an SEO firm or an SEO consultant or SEO freelancer that promises them, all these things, and they really don't deliver. And because SEO takes, 3 to 6 months to really start working its magic, that's 3 to 6 months of them paying and, wait, hold on, I promise, and all those promises never come to fruition. So that's who this is for. And, I guess anybody else that just wants to learn about some SEO for job boards. So, what we're going to talk about: pros and cons of SEO, warning signs when hiring an SEO, who should focus on SEO as a primary traffic source, some really basic surface level concepts, tactics, ideas of SEO, and then content ideas at the end, just to kind of get your brain working and thinking about what you can create as far as content goes. And I got this infographic from Red Hot Penny Limited, and it's kind of, showing this is more or less what we're talking about, surface level stuff. If you really want to learn SEO and go dive deep into JavaScript and keyword cannibalization and I don't know, broken links and reaching out for link building, there are plenty of resources. Moz. I'm a big fan of Ryan Stewart. Don't really want to drop too many other names just because, well, SEO is also one of those things where if you dive in, there's a lot to learn. However, if you only know the basics, you're still going to have some success. So there's that. So let's talk about the pros of SEO. It can be inexpensive in that you don't have to spend, $5,000 a month on SEO. You really don't. Especially if you are not too familiar with the concept, start small and your investment will last for a while. I got an analytics screenshot of strictly my organic traffic for, from October 1st to May 2nd, 2020. And as you can see, like during the week, traffic over the weekends, it dips. That's just kind of the ebb and flow of things. Nobody's really looking for career advice or looking for a new job on the weekends. They're out getting mimosas. And besides, that initial coronavirus scare, it's been pretty stable and growing. It's pretty consistently, okay, it's peaks on about a Wednesday, dips on a Saturday, peaks on a Wednesday, dips on a Saturday. I put free in quotes because it's not free. However, it is an initial investment that lasts a while. And it's quality traffic because you create content based on the kind of people you want to your website. So by free in quotes, I mean, you spend $100 on an article. Once it's ranking and starting to bring traffic, that's it for the most part. You still want to go back and kind of, depending on what your situation is, you can go back and update those articles. If you find in your search console that you're ranking for are almost ranking for keywords and you're on the second page, you can go, okay, we need to we could win that. And again, quality traffic in that you don't create content for people that you don't want on your website. If you're a construction job board, you don't need to write articles or have articles written about interior design, because that's vanity. It might get your traffic up, but those people aren't going to be. That's not quality traffic. It's not focused, targeted for what you need to succeed. It's 24/7 working for you, and I'm not trying to badmouth cold email or cold calling or anything like that. But once you stop, or it stops. Your pipeline dries up. So again, you put out 50, 100 articles, you're going to start seeing traffic, and they will continue to work for you. It's also a long-term strategy in that, most of this traffic right here is coming from work done at the beginning of 2019, the first half of 2019. This is kind of what happens when it stables out a little bit, and then you go, okay, where do we want to move on to next? And even if I don't touch those articles, I'm not saying they're going to last forever in their rankings. I'll talk about some, ranking in the next slide as far as the cons go, but they will last for a while. Also, better SEO equals better user experience, or UX, meaning that, some of the basic optimizations for SEO, site speed, navigation, are going to create a better experience for your visitors. So they're going to, like using your website, enjoy it, and continue coming back. And I kind of already touched on this, but it's semi-passive in that you spend some money or write some articles at the beginning of the year, and the second half of the year you're starting to see some the traffic, and it just keeps working for you. So cons of SEO: it takes a while to work. As you can see, this is the first 6-7 months of the website. I think I published the very first article December 18th. And you can tell, okay, it was 1, 2, 3. It wasn't until month 4 that I actually started seeing some traffic, every single day. This is just organic. I was doing, cold email outreach and other traffic building or using other traffic sources. But it wasn't until 4 months in that I started seeing consistent daily traffic. But after that, it started rising. And disregard this June dip. There was something going on with my analytics where it wasn't recording all the traffic that was coming in. But it was fixed, and there's that. So it takes a while to get to actually work. And that's what I'm talking about as far as when you're hiring somebody, because if it takes a while to work, that's 4 months that they could, if I hired somebody to do this for me, that's 4 months they could have potentially been lying and saying, hey, yeah, no, you'll start ranking, I promise. And, I'm out $2,500 a month. Well, I'm out 10 grand, so that's a downside. Also, you don't have to go expensive, but you definitely don't want to go cheap. Don't try to go on Fiverr and buy backlinks, because you're going to get, blog comments, spam, and it's going to hurt you more than helps you. Same with articles. If you get cheap articles written, and I'm not saying you got to spend $500 on an article, on a 1,000-word article, but if you try to get a 2,500 words for $10, you're wasting your money and you're wasting your time, because it's just not going to be good. That's the bottom line. It's going to be crap. And you get what you pay for 100%. Algorithm updates can hurt your business in that, for the most part, these kind of websites, they're pretty safe as far as updates go. Generally, algorithm updates hit like spammy websites or just low quality, just skeezy websites, the kind that you look at and you go, yeah, I don't trust this website at all. But it's still possible. You never know. It's also as complex as you make it. Like I was saying in the one of the previous slides about we're sticking to the surface level, you can sit there and learn keyword cannibalization and all these crazy backlink strategies. But for the most part, if you just stick to the basics, you're gonna be okay. Don't try to game the system. Don't try to look up black hat SEO strategies, or you're just gonna get burned later down the line. And there's no guarantees. Okay. I'm going to touch on this more on the next slide, but just because all the factors are showing that you should be able to rank for a certain keyword, you may not. And on top of that, just because you're ranking number 1, number 2, number 3 for a given keyword, or your page is doing incredibly well, competitors can move in, take your spot if they notice that it's just not up to par as far as all the signals for why it's ranking, and that's it. It's like you could be pushed off just from competition, and there's nothing that can protect you from that. There's plenty of tools out there that you can look up exactly how many words an article has on somebody's website, and how many backlinks it has, and how competitive a certain keyword or group of keywords is. There's no guarantees. There's no guarantees you're going to stay number 1, and there's no guarantees you're going to make number 1. And also, the last con, and I've kind of touched on this also, is it's a pretty shady industry overall, because there's a 4-month, 4 to 6 or 3 to 6 month period between hitting publish and starting to see some organic traffic. That's 3 months that you could be paying somebody or paying a company, and they could be running away with your money. That's not good. And there are companies that do this, or they'll promise. I'll just get into the next slide. I'm talking about all on this next slide. There we go. Warning signs when hiring an SEO. If they promise page 1 or rank 1 rankings, run. Just run. Don't talk to them, because it's one of those things where you cannot promise, you cannot guarantee first page rankings. That is completely out of the hands of an SEO. They can do their best. They can try their hardest. They can put forth all the efforts needed to, everything that says I should be ranking number 1, but they still could not. So if anybody's promising first page rankings, that cut ties, cut all conversations. Don't talk to them. They're trying to scam you. Any kind of cheap service, if they're promising 200 backlinks for $100, run, because those are going to be super spammy blog comments on blogs that are no longer maintained, and they're not going to do anything for you. They're either going to not do anything for you, or they're going to hurt you in the long run. Or if they promise any massive amount of backlinks, building backlinks takes time. If somebody says we can do 5 to 10 a month, okay, that's realistic. If somebody's promising hundreds, unless you have a budget of thousands of dollars, it's not. It's just big red flag. Always are red flags. If they hide their efforts, this kind of ties into no reports, but if they won't tell you exactly what they're doing, run. Because they're probably doing some just black hat, kind of stuff that worked in 2011 kind of stuff, and it's just not worth it. You should be expecting reports monthly with exactly what they're doing. And not only that, if you do hire an external SEO, and this kind of made this, or some of the next slides are going to be, here are some real basics of SEO. So you can actually have that conversation with them. So you can say like, yeah, you could ask, what are you doing for backlinks? And if they say, oh, we're using a PBN, you can say, that's kind of middle of the road to black hat type stuff. I'm not interested in that. Whereas if they're saying, yeah, we're reaching out to news organizations in your industry to talk about your website. And you go, oh, okay, well, that makes sense. And it's like public relations outreach type stuff. So if they're not providing reports on what exactly they're doing or fixing any technical issues on site, if you got a bunch of missing meta descriptions or something like that, if they're not telling you exactly what they're doing, run. And also if you're asking for content and they're providing, some generic 500-word articles that, anybody could think of that it's not even like industry specific. Anybody could have came up with the content. Run. It's not going to help you. It's like fluff. It's one of those things where, we have articles being published on our blog. Yeah, but no one's reading it. You're just kind of doing it because somebody said it should be done. So if they're going to provide, content for you, make sure that it's, read it, look over it, say, okay, this is actually like written by somebody in the industry that knows what the hell they're talking about, isn't crap. So, all right. Let's talk about who should focus on SEO as their primary traffic source. If you already know SEO, I don't know why you're watching this video. You already know that it takes time. You already know the amount of effort that goes into it and how it's not as easy as people make it out to be. And that's it. If you have time to wait, if you have time to wait for those articles to start marinating in Google or Bing or Yahoo, if you have time to wait for them to, start gaining rankings and driving traffic, good. If you already have a traffic source and you just want to expand, again, it's going to take time, 3 to 6 months before you start seeing any sort of organic traffic, for the most part, and that's it. It takes time. Or if you don't have a budget, okay, if you are trying to grow your traffic and you really just, you don't have cold calling skills or cold emailing skills or whatever, and you got enough money to buy hosting, a domain, and some softwares to run the job board, SEO could work for you. So let's talk about some real SEO basics. I'm going to be talking about technical SEO, keyword research, on-page SEO, which is basically boils down to user experience and content, off-page SEO, which basically boils down to backlinks, and schema markup, which sounds a whole lot scarier than it really is. And again, this is all super surface level. I'm not going to go into like super deep technical, besides technical SEO, which but I mean like super like complex tactics and strategies that, unless you are an SEO, you really, or want to become an SEO, you really don't need. So as far as technical SEO basics go, you want to index your site with sitemaps, and submit those to the various webmaster tools. Personally, I only use Google and Bing. That's just me. For the most part, Google is the number one search engine, at least in the US. I'm not sure about, other languages. I'm guessing it is because it's kind of universal. But, and even then, Google's going to bring in, as far as organic goes, 95% of your organic traffic. I get a trickle of traffic, probably about 2 to 5% daily of my organic traffic comes from Bing, a few from Yahoo, but I don't even that's just, I think actually through Bing Webmaster Tools it goes to Yahoo. I'm not sure because I don't care. Google's gonna be the big one, and that's as simple as installing. And if you really don't know program or anything like that, if you have an SEO plugin, assuming you're using WordPress, they'll usually have a sitemaps, one click to create. You sign up for Google Search Console, you submit it, and that's it. It'll start crawling your website, looking at how things are laid out, and boom, start throwing your website or start indexing your website, throwing it up on the search engine results page, the SERPs. Your site speed. You want your site as fast as possible. You can use a website like gtmetrics.com, Golf Tango Metrics.com, and it will run basically a speed test. Give you a bunch of things you can do to speed up your site. It'll show you, roughly about how long it takes to load up. Whether you should be, if you have a bunch of huge images on your site, which should be resized, it'll tell you like, hey, resize these images. And it's real, just for the most part, a lot of it's simple stuff. There are some complex things, but if you don't know, just hire somebody to do it for you. Your site architecture, how it's built. WordPress, it's easy to get a WordPress site up and running. For the most part, the architecture is already there. Like me personally, really it's kind of the permalink structure, how your URL is set up, website.com/blog post or page, WordPress.com/jobs, we'll just say. For me, I like to have my URL structure include the categories, and that's just for analytical purposes. So if I have, WordPress or website.com/construction/ the best work boots for construction workers, then I can see like, okay, how's my construction cluster going, or my resume tips cluster, constructionjobs.com/resume/ what font to use for a construction resume, things like that. And then you want to run audits. And if you don't know, an audit will basically tell you everything that's wrong with your website on a technical level. If you have duplicate title tags, if you have like 4 pages that all have jobs as their H1 tag, it'll let you know. If you have, a bunch of meta descriptions that are missing, if you have a bunch of, I don't know, images that are too large, they're not optimized like this one. Because this is just a PowerPoint, I can have, the full 4600 by 3200 pixel image on here because it's not going to affect the speed because it's not online. But if you were to upload that on your website, well, even if, the page resizes it to, 320 by 240 or whatever the dimensions are, it's still going to have to load in that 4 megabyte image, and it's just shrinking it. So it's not actually a smaller image, it's just shrinking it to appear smaller. Whereas you could resize it offline, upload it as a 320 by 240, and it might be 24 kilobytes instead. An audit will let you know, and you can do that yourself. You get an SEO software tool like SEMrush or Ahrefs or SERPstat, or really there's plenty of them. Run an audit, and it'll just break it down like, hey, here's everything that's wrong with your site. You should fix this, and it could help your rankings. Some basic keyword research. This is kind of where you want to start. Doing some sort of keyword research. And again, you can pay somebody to do this. It's, for the most part, not that expensive. Just to get basically a list of ideas and topics you can write about. One thing to keep in mind is volume isn't always better. So don't discount a keyword just because it only gets 20 searches a month. You know what I mean? Because if those 20 people are ready to open their wallets and buy a job posting, or are candidates looking for a job in your industry or city, you shouldn't discount them. That's the quality targeted traffic that you're looking for. Trying to rank for job board. First of all, you're not going to. Indeed, Monster, Career Builder, those sites are pretty much locked in. You'd have to have a massive budget, in which case you'd already hire somebody to do this for you. So again, volume is always better. I have articles that, well, they weren't even based off keywords. They're based off questions. And since nobody has answered that question, but that question gets, cumulatively 170, I think I got a screenshot in the next few slides somewhere in there. Cumulatively gets like 170, 180 searches a month for one article that wasn't even based off keywords. It was just based off a question. So again, volume isn't always better. It's okay to target those shorter volume keywords, honestly, because you're not going to rank for just one keyword. You're going to rank for a bunch, and that can't hurt at all. And this goes for posts or articles and pages. So, and if you're really, have no idea what the difference is, a page is kind of a post. Posts is your blog. Posts is your blog role. Pages are kind of permanent. Your landing page if you're moving a paid traffic at some point, or the actual jobs page where it populates the job postings, whatnot. I found a lot of success with my job board in answering questions. Like I just said, instead of trying to go for, construction job board, it was, what should I put in my construction cover letter, my construction resume cover letter, something like that. They might not get or might not show any traffic as far as organic if you're using a search tool, but those people, assuming like, let's say you're selling, like in my case, I'm selling resume templates. So it makes sense for me to write articles about building a resume, because then I can pitch that. I can have a call to action saying, if you're starting, buy a resume template so you don't have to worry about the actual layout. But, you can go for, how to get a certain certification in your industry, or what's the cost of living in your city if it's like a location-based job board. And use the for or in modifiers. Trying to rank for best work boots, if you're doing like affiliate marketing with your job board, best work boots, it might be hard to rank for that. Best work boots for construction workers could be significantly easier because it's more specific. You might be lower traffic, but that traffic is, they're a construction worker looking for work boots. Probably gonna be, you're probably gonna do okay with it. Or the in modifier, if you're doing a city-based, how much does it cost to live in Chicago? And these are really, I wouldn't say poor examples, but they're examples that you got to do some research on your own for this. Let's talk about OnPage SEO Basics. And this is what I was talking about with that, the article answering a question. So longer form content potentially ranks for more keywords, but that's not always the case. Short form content can do well, again, if you're answering a very specific question. This article right here, this is the last 28 days of traffic, like from yesterday or whatever, Search Console updated. It's all about fonts for, I think, portfolios. Okay, because I also sell portfolio templates. So fonts for this industry's portfolio. It's less than 600 words. You don't have to. Yes, longer form content, again, has more potential to rank for more keywords just because there's more content there. But don't think that every single post has to be 1, 2, 5, 10,000 words long. You can get away with answering a very specific question and answering it well. I think I'm in the rich snippet, which you can Google what a rich snippet is. It's basically when you go on Google and it's the top box that looks better than everything else and answers the question inside Google. So, all right, back to OnPage SEO Basics. Format it properly. Format your pages properly. Use your H2, H1, H3 header tags. That's the resizing of the headlines. When you go on, it's like, I wish I had an example in front of me. the headline, your headlines. Include optimize and include images and video. A lot of people don't include video in their articles when it helps out so much. And by optimize images, I mean before you upload an image to your site, rename the file to match what the topic, what the article is about, what the page is about. It may not be, or may not, cause a massive increase in traffic, but it's just doing the right things. It'll help with your image rankings because, Google isn't just for articles. There's also the image search and video search option on there. But if you have a good, strong image, including, feature image and images in your posts, it's going to help out immensely with click-through rates. If you have the rich snippet one, because it'll have that image attached to the snippet in some cases. And video also helps out because some SERPs, the search engine results pages, they include video inside the on the SERP. So if you embed a YouTube video in your article, it's going to help you out. And the great thing about especially video is they don't even have to be from your YouTube. It can be from anybody's as long as they have embed enabled, because it's not it's not stealing. They're allowing it to be shared, and they're getting views when people click over to your website and say, oh yeah, I really want some work boots for construction. And that video is just going to help them make a buying decision. And just be aware, if you're going to update your meta description and title, it's not going to help your rankings, but it will help your click-through rate as far as what somebody sees when they're on the SERPs, when they're on the search engine result page, when they see, top 10 X for Y, and then your description is, we're going to list the top 10 X for Y, and here's why, and you're not going to believe what number 7 is, kind of clickbaity stuff. But that's really kind of what the description is, or tell them exactly what they're going to get. In this article, you will learn how to become a PMP certified, I don't even know what PMP stands for, but I know it's a certification. Woo! So, really basic on-page stuff. Have an article written, format it nice, make it look readable. If it's just a big old block of text, most people are going to go, yeah, I'm not reading all that. No way. Include images, include video if it's relevant. And that's pretty basic. And link to your other articles. That's one that I forgot to include on this slide. But link to your other articles. That way, if somebody's reading about, best fonts for the construction resumes, they can go, whoa, what colors should I use? Oh, there's the best color schemes for construction resumes. Oh, what should my cover letter look like? Oh, what should your cover letter look like? And they just keep clicking through and until they go, man, this site's awesome. Oh, look at that. They have jobs. They have job listings. Let me go check those out. See what I'm getting at? OffPage SEO Basics. You're basically looking at backlinks. And we got a nice picture of links back over here. There's a white hat way of doing backlinks, and there's a gray to black hat way of doing backlinks. If you, depending on your SEO level and your risk tolerance, if somebody mentions PBNs, personal blog networks, depending on, again, your risk tolerance, are you willing to risk long-term success for short-term gains? There's no PBNs are a real. This is so hard to. If you're a beginner, if you have no idea what SEO is, if this is your first time, this is your, you're looking to hire an SEO, I would avoid PBNs because they may work, but it's also the potential that, you could get penalized or get, they could go down. It's like taxes. All right, PBNs are like taxes, or tax loopholes, Yeah, you could probably save some money, but your risk of auditing goes up. That's basically PBNs for you, if that makes sense. So if you want to, do some white hat link building, which is also in and of itself a little kind of oxymoron, in that building links isn't white hat. And I apologize if I haven't explained the difference between white and black hat. White hat is, playing by the rules set forth by Google, and that's basically, SEO is more or less playing by Google's rules to rank in Google higher. But any kind of intentional building of links back to your website is frowned upon. So if you can do this 100% organic, the same way you're getting organic traffic, you can get backlinks organically. However, if you do want to build backlinks, just know that it's not entirely white hat, by the books, whatever. You can reach out to authorities in your industry, try to do like guest posts, writing articles for their website. If you're an industry-based, job board, constructionjobs.com, and you want to, there's, constructionmagazine.com that you want to, hey, check us out. We got this job board over here. We'd like to talk about hiring practices. Oh, okay, sure. You talk about it, in your bio, or at the end, you say, hey, if you want to, get a job over here, boom, link back. If you're like more of a local or location-based job board, jobsinchicago.com. You can reach out to local media and try to get, stories written about you either through local bloggers or actual news organizations. Maybe get on the morning news someday or something crazy. Also, education. And this is why, I started doing more educational articles for education backlinks, which don't really have the same weight as they did a few years ago. If you start looking up educational backlinks, you might stumble upon like scholarship backlinks. Don't do that. That's corndoggery. That's not good to do. But like my job board, because I do offer resources that go beyond just finding a job, it's here's how you write resumes for this industry. A few colleges have, included me in their career resources pages, which is really good, which really helps out, especially if they're no follow backlinks. Not no follow, do follow. I apologize. And the difference between no follow and do follow. If you have a service working for you, or you're looking at, if you have an SEO working for you already, and they're providing, or when they report that they should be providing, showing their link building, if they have a bunch of no follow backlinks, those aren't necessarily bad, but they're not exactly helping your, SEO out, your rankings. They are good for referral traffic, because if people see that and it is a good backlink on a page that actually gets traffic, people will click over to your website. And that's not, no follow backlinks aren't all bad. However, do follow backlinks are, if we can make a comparison, basically a backlink is a citation. If you ever read a research report, or written a report, and at the end you have your appendix, you have your sources. The more research reports that have a source cited, the more authority that research report has. It's trusted. It makes sense. It's probably the de facto. That's the same as your website. Your website is the research report, and you want other websites to cite your page, your website, as the authority, as the de facto. That's basically what you're going for as far as backlinks go. It's like works cited pages, and they're linking back. I apologize. I think I explained that much worse than I needed to. Onward. In Schema Markup, you're running a job board. You want your jobs to be showing up in, on the SERPs, on the search engine result pages. And basically just let search engines know you have jobs. It's a way where, when you're filling out a job posting, you have, when's the date or when's the job posting closing? What's the salary? Is it full-time, part-time, or contract work? All those, what's the location? What's the actual job title? What's the role? Basically, a schema markup is your way of translating all that information that's submitted into language that Google or Bing can read. And then if you have a construction job in Seattle and somebody in Seattle types in construction jobs, you have the potential to show up in that job box at the top of Google or Bing or whatever search engine. And it really just sounds scarier than it really is. It can be set up super easy. And if you're using like WordPress and you have a plugin that is your job board software, it's usually built in, and all you gotta do is submit the sitemap to Google, and your job postings will start showing up there. So onward. So let's talk about some content ideas. Just to get the brain working, it's probably going to be a quick hitter slide. So you could, what to include in, I'm just going to use construction in Chicago. What to include in construction cover letters. Best universities for construction in U.S. And I understand, okay, maybe construction wasn't the best example there, but best universities for construction management in Utah. How to become whatever kind of roles how to become a foreman, how much does a foreman get paid, things like that, things that people are searching for when they're either in that career field or want to join that career field. How long does it take to learn, AutoCAD? How to get your PMP certificate? How long does it take to get your PMP? How to increase your salary in construction, cost of living in Chicago, jobs in Chicago, jobs in construction. Those, again, going back to a bunch of slides, for and in modifiers are going to help you out so much. Just because they're more specific, you might not get as much traffic, but you are going to get targeted traffic, which is what you want. You don't want 10,000 people coming to your website a day and they're all looking for, real life example, they're all looking for ceramic pots. Okay, that's why I don't really use Pinterest anymore. Some of your, if you're doing like affiliate marketing as another monetization method, best work boots for construction. You're probably not going to rank for best work boots. You may eventually, but if you really don't know what's going on as far as SEO goes, you're probably not. But best work boots for construction workers could potentially rank. So there's that. Best Chicago job boards, best construction job boards. This is kind of one of those parts where, promote your competitors. It's if somebody looks at best construction job boards and they come to your site and we're the best and that's it. It's like, I don't know if you're a reliable source. I don't know if that's an unbiased opinion. But if you say you can post your jobs on our site, you can post your jobs on this other website, on this website, on this website. And they're like, oh, well, shit, this is actually a resource. Best industry firms in city. That's what I experimented with a little bit. Just to actually, it's less for SEO and more for trying to build backlinks from like media pages on company websites. So if you're in a construction industry and you work, or you're a U.S. based job board, best construction firms in New York City, and just work your way down to, I don't know, Bridgewater, South Dakota, and just go down the line. You're going to get some shares, you're going to get social shares, you're going to potentially get some backlinks from those companies because they see like, oh, wow, like, look at this. We're mentioned, it's a media mention. Also, salary for your industry. There might be, those glass doors and things that allow user submitted. But if you come out and say, hey, look, here's the data from this research report showing here's the salary for construction workers in Utah, I'm like, oh, well, that's very specific and can probably, if not outrank, at least compete with a website like Glassdoor, where it's just user-generated content and sometimes quote-unquote thin content. So a few just content ideas. And of course, there's always a pitch. There's got to be a pitch. So if you need help with your job board's SEO, or looking for keywords to use, or you want somebody to run an SEO audit on your website, just head over to justincharnell.com and navigate to the contact page, and I could potentially help you out. And this is actually much shorter than I anticipated, only 47 minutes long. So thanks for watching that. I appreciate it. I hope the playback is good and I don't have to do it again. So cheers. Thank you.